Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Drew Leader from Loyola University, Maryland, and I'm giving some lessons in these videos from my new book, The Healing Body: Creative Responses to Illness, Aging, and Affliction. And much of the first half, a little more than the first half of the book, is devoted to laying out what I call a kind of chessboard of healing, different possibility spaces that people can use in terms of their existential response to bodily breakdown, whether that takes the form of a serious injury or a chronic illness, the changes of aging, a disability, etc. Something we all sooner or later face. And the question is, when medical cure is unavailable, what can we do? What do people do in order to existentially heal? In other words, to reintegrate their life and really lay the groundwork for a satisfying and fulfilling existence despite bodily limitation. So today we're going to focus on the square of the chessboard called giving. I have another video that concentrates on receiving. And of course, in many ways, these two are reciprocal, but they each need their own treatment. For example, in relation to giving, uh, we've seen, if you've watched some other videos, how bodily breakdown can shake up your world, your sense of identity, and shift you from the sense of your body as the basis of the I can. I can do this, I can do that, the root of your habitual abilities, to the flip side, which is the I can't, all the things I'm unable to do, even if I once was able, when I was more able-bodied. And it's not unusual to feel a sense of personal deficiency along with the experience of bodily limitation. For example, when my nerve problem is acting up and I'm hobbling around, or my back problem and I'm not able to walk my dog or to make dinner or clean up dishes, I don't feel very good about myself. I feel like I haven't been a good husband, and I feel kind of inadequate, like I've disappointed and let others down. And this can happen, especially with kind of longer term chronic illnesses, that it really erodes one's self-esteem, the sense of having value in the world. And sometimes one is treated as of lesser value by the people around you, which certainly doesn't help. Uh, I want to, for example, give a quote by a philosopher, S.K. Tombs, who writes about her own experience with multiple sclerosis, which finally progressed to the point where she was confined to a wheelchair, whereas previously she'd been able to stand and move independently. She says, quote, "The loss of upright posture engenders feelings of helplessness and dependency. Moreover, it causes others to treat one as dependent. I've noticed, for example, that on those occasions when I use a wheelchair, strangers invariably address themselves to my husband and refer to me in the third person, even though she's sitting right there and perfectly capable of hearing and responding. Consequently, this particular change in one's bodily way of being incorporates a profound transformation in one's sense of self. It's as if she has lost her standing in the world now that she can no longer stand, and people feel she can no longer understand what they're saying. So this partial disability has been globalized in the minds of others and sometimes within our own mind as a kind of overarching personal deficiency. So it's in the face of this that it's so important that the ill or the disabled person experience that they can still give to others. It helps reestablish that sense of agency, that experience of self-worth, that feeling that your life and even your body still has concrete value and use. It still can do things in the world, even if there are other things that it can't, and we rely on others. How should we give? There's certainly no universal answer to that. It depends on your personality, your situation, your bodily state, etc. Um, but a past U.S. Surgeon General, after speaking with a medical specialist on the effects of loneliness, and this is something the Surgeon General has really been concerned with as something that's affecting people's health, says, quote, "There's no best or one-size-fits-all way to help others. The goal doesn't even have to focus on people. When we're lonely, we may feel too intimidated to join a group that works directly with underprivileged kids or seniors, but our love of animals might lead us to a rescue shelter. Our concern for the environment might inspire us to pitch in when groups clean up the beach or forest. Our love of literature might draw us to the public library, where we can volunteer shelving books. Any form of service will do as long as it feels genuinely and personally meaningful." And there's research that giving in that way, being of service, it lowers activity in the brain's stress and threat centers. Psychologically, it gives a greater sense of autonomy, efficacy, social connection, increased happiness, which helps with that kind of existential and also often physical healing. Um, Sometimes it might seem like there's nothing I can do. I'm confined to a hospital bed. And I want to tell a quick story from Jane Thibault, a friend and a leading gerontologist, who told me about a pastoral counselor who was summoned to the nursing home bed of a woman suffering from cancer. Um, and her husband had Hodgkin's disease. And the counselor really didn't know how to help. Um, and I'm sorry, she was next to the bedside of a man who had Hodgkin's disease and the wife who suffered from multiple sclerosis. So the woman with cancer, who Jane Thibault was talking with, uh, was caught in her own private pain, and she was a bit of a terror to all the caregivers in this nursing home. She just complained and moaned, and this wasn't helping her. It wasn't helping the people around her. Uh, and Dr. Thibault suggested that she take up her own pain and simply offer that as a form of prayer for the other couple with multiple sclerosis and Hodgkin's. Even though the person wasn't super religious, the patient overcame her skepticism and did what was suggested. The pastoral counseling came back, was surprised to see her really cheered up, her pain diminished. Um, and so was her self-centeredness. She didn't begin with a customary litany of complaints, but just with a single question: how is the couple down the hall doing? So, in kind of offering up her pain to God and turning into a kind of dedicated suffering for the benefit of others, she herself was released from that private, self-centered hell of focusing on her own suffering. This case brings up an interesting distinction that I'll say sometimes people find they can give in spite of their physical problems. Sometimes they can also give even because of, as a result of their physical problems. Um, the case is a little bit ambiguous. Was she able to help despite the fact that she was bedridden, or did the very fact that she was suffering from cancer as bedridden make her more compassionate? Did it open up her heart and that capacity for other-centeredness and dedicated prayer that relieved her from her own suffering? But sometimes people will find that not only can they find ways to be of service to others despite their bodily limitations, but that those bodily limitations has given them increased resilience, increased understanding of the human condition, expertise in things around their own illness and care, uh, greater empathy for others. It brings forth new capacities that may allow them to give in new and even deeper ways than they had prior to the illness. So, once again, we've been discussing the healing space, the space on the chessboard called giving, and the importance of recognizing we still can give even when limited. Just very quickly, as with all other healing strategies, there's a downside if this is used excessively or inappropriately. For example, someone might be too much of a giver when they really need to lie back, rest, relax, and receive. They may continue to try to go to work when they really need to stay home, or give overmuch to their children when they really need to take care of themselves. And they can end up literally working themselves to death, which is of no benefit to anybody. So we have to give to ourselves as well as to others. That kind of self-care has to be kept in appropriate balance with our attempts to still give and care for others. So thank you for listening. Hope this was of some service, and hope to see you again.